Hello everyone. Boring movie guy back once again. Today I'm going to talk about one of my childhood favorite movies, and that movie is Pete's Dragon from, I believe, 1977, because I think this was released at around the time Star Wars was released, and sadly Star Wars completely kicked this movie's ass, so I think that's why not very well received to this day, because Star Wars sort of overpowered it. But you can kind of understand, this isn't exactly the greatest movie, but I have a lot of fun with it. When I was a kid, my parents said that me and my brother, whenever they were like, "Oh, you want to watch something, on TV? What do you want to watch?" And we'd always say Pete's Dragon, and my parents said that it drove them nuts. This movie, it drove them nuts. But I have very fond memories of this, as a child. Basically, the story is, there's this boy called Pete, and he's an orphan. He's adopted by a family that treats him terribly. He has to do all the work around the house. I think he even has to tend to like the farm and all that. He pretty much does all the work. And they beat him. They yell at him. They sometimes don't even feed him. And he manages to escape. He goes to this town called Passamaquoddy. And he runs into Helen Reddy and Mickey Rooney, and they take him in. And and I guess the hitch to this is that he has this imaginary, even though you do get to see him a lot in the film, he has this imaginary friend called Elliot, and he's a dragon. And I guess he's not exactly imaginary. I put the quotation marks there, but everyone thinks it's an imaginary friend that he has, so they're like, "Oh, that's cool." But the only person in town that does end up seeing like the dragon is Mickey Rooney, and of course he's like the town drunk, so they of course don't believe a fucking word he says. It's hilarious. Mickey Rooney is hilarious in this movie. That's one thing this film has, is a great ensemble cast. I mean, you have Helen Reddy, who is the lead in this movie. Well, you do have Sean Marshall, who's kind of the lead. I mean, the movie's named after his character, Pete. So, but Sean Marshall, this is pretty much the only thing he did. I think after this, he was, like, done with movies, period. Same thing with Helen Reddy. She was already famous for her music. And I guess maybe this was supposed to be her introduction into film, her breakthrough, but I guess it didn't work out because she didn't really do anything after this. But you have Helen Reddy, Mickey Rooney, Red Buttons, Jim Dale, Jim Backus is in there, Shelley Winters, and I believe this was the first film Jeff Conaway, who is known for like being on Taxi or Grease. Yeah, this was like the first film he was in. So basically, Pete escapes. His foster family is like after him, trying to find him, but he's hiding out with Helen Reddy and Mickey Rooney, who's son and daughter. And this is just a weird film, man. It's very, very, very weird, man. Like when you're a kid, you're sort of like, this is such a happy movie, and then when you watch it later on, you realize how like dark and depressing it is. I mean, there's the opening song with the family trying to find Pete in the woods, and they're like telling him, "Oh, if you come to us, we'll be all nice and give you cake, and we'll let you do whatever you want. Just come back to us." But then they're like, we're gonna beat you. Like they're all being all like happy, and then it's kind of like the song, like it's like kind of like a mix between like happy, like hey, and then all of a sudden it's like, we're gonna beat you, we're gonna do this to you, we're gonna do that, we're gonna It's like, holy moly, this is like pretty depressing. And then yeah, there's even a song in here where they're talking about cutting the dragon up and using and selling his parts to cure like diseases and stuff like that. Um, yeah, you got that. And then another thing that's wrong with the movie, there's a song called um, "There's Room for Everyone in This World, so why don't you make some room?" The only problem is I think there isn't a single like minority kid because like the whole song, there's like all the kids dancing and Helen Reddy's like singing the song. They're all white kids, so okay, I guess that was just how the times were. Uh, but yeah, like the whole movie takes place like at this lighthouse. Well, most of the movie, the other parts take place in the town, but it's yeah, the lighthouse is pretty cool, man. A lot of the cool moments in the movie are like with the lighthouse, and I think Disney actually wanted to, take that lighthouse and move it to Disneyland, but the problem was is when the film like wrapped and all that, and I think the lighthouse was already like in terrible shape, so they couldn't even do that. Sadly, I would have loved to go to Disneyland and see that lighthouse. I would have been so happy, but I guess it was already falling apart, and it just couldn't be done. So that's kind of sad, man. It's too bad it doesn't stand to this day because I'd like to go see that lighthouse. um, what else can I talk about this movie? I guess the music. Music's fantastic in this film. It was even nominated for best score, and then I think it was nominated for best original song, which was "Candle on the Water." I'll be your candle on the water. I love it, dude. I love the soundtrack so much. Like a lot of my videos that I'm showing, I do have the soundtrack on vinyl. Of course, you have all the big stars here on the cover. You have Elliot the Dragon in the middle there. Then, of course, you got, Sean Marshall. There's Mickey Rooney next to him. And then Helen Reddy right there. And then Red Buttons. Red Buttons right there. And then Shelley Winters. And then Jim Dale. I guess people would probably know Jim Dale now because he does the audiobooks for the Harry Potter books for the U.S. Audiobooks, not the UK. It's weird that they just don't use, what is this, Stephen Fry? I think Stephen Fry did the audiobooks for the UK, but for the US, Jim Dale here did the audiobooks for Harry Potter. So, yeah, that's probably what everyone would know him from. Everyone else, Red Buttons was a comedian. He also won an Oscar for the movie Sayonara, right? Yeah, I think it was Sayonara. And then, Shelley Winters here, multiple great roles. Helen Reddy for her music. Mickey Rooney, just who doesn't know who the hell Mickey Rooney is? Sean Marshall, on the other hand. Only thing, his claim to fame is Pete's Dragon. So, yeah. What else can I talk about this movie? So yeah, when I was a kid, this was a favorite of mine. I would go through I think there was 3 movies that I watched constantly when I was a kid. It was this one, Terminator 2. Luckily, my parents didn't really care about the rating system. They're like, if it's good, we'll let them watch it. So when I was a kid, I got to watch anything. My parents were just like, if it's good, let them see it. And of course, the third one was Halloween. John Carpenter's Halloween. I watched the hell out of that when I was a kid. It scared the hell out of me, but I loved it. We had it on Betamax, and yeah, I think I ended up just destroying that tape because I watched Halloween so many times. I just love the movie, man. It's so great. Even when I was a kid, I was like, I want to watch it again. I loved it so much. But Pete's Dragon is up there as one of my favorites when I was a kid. I just loved it, man. What else can I talk about with this movie? I guess the remake. We can talk about the remake. If you want to call it a remake, I guess you can call it a reboot, or I don't know what you call it, because it was called the same thing, Pete's Dragon, but the stories are not the same at all. Yeah, I'm kind of happy they did that because I was afraid it was going to be like almost the same thing, the same songs. Takes place in a fishing community, and I was kind of like, I don't think that's gonna work for nowadays. But luckily, they took it in a different direction. Did a whole original thing. Didn't really pay attention to the story of this movie. Do I like it more than this movie? Not really. This movie just has too much sentimental value to me. That the new one, it's good, but I wouldn't watch it over and over again like I have with this one. Like, I still watch this movie off and on. And of course, I listen to the soundtrack a lot, so I really, really enjoy this movie. And I'm glad that it seems like people are starting to find this movie, because for a while there, a lot of people, you'd ask them about this movie and they would have no idea what the hell you're talking about. But it seems like nowadays, people are sort of finding this movie and are appreciating it. I mean, back in the day, I think IMDb, it had a really low score. It was like 5.5 out of 10. Now it looks like it jumped up to about a 6.5. So I'm guessing people are finding it now. They're enjoying it. It's making me happy that people out there are seeking this movie and they're enjoying it like I did when I was a kid, and still do to this day. Is there like any moments I can talk about in this movie? I think I mean, it's like I said, like when you're a kid, you think it's like, oh, it's all happy and musical and there's a dragon, haha. But then when you watch it now, it's like, holy moly, this movie is pretty fucking depressing. You got this kid that doesn't have any, his birth parents, they don't even tell what the hell happened to his birth parents. He's adopted, he's fucking beaten, treated like shit, escapes, finds a new family. They're better, they're more civilized people. They treat him well, and then he has this dragon that helps him out whenever he's in need, even though the dragon kind of causes destruction in its path, but he's always there to save the day for Pete. And then, man, at the end, like, they're like Jim Dale, like, he's like, I think he pulled out this big ass fucking like gun with like it was like a spear, or a I think it was a harpoon gun, and he was like ready to shoot Elliot, but luckily he missed. It's like, holy crap. And the thing is I think this movie, they were going to just have Pete, it was just going to be Pete, and Elliot was going to be invisible through the entire movie until the very end. But I think someone at Disney, or maybe I think the animators were like, oh man, this is maybe our chance to like persuade them to give the dragon some more screen time so that we can, do some more animation. Maybe they didn't have any work to do at that time, so they're like, we got to find more work to do. Let's maybe pitch this idea to get the dragon in there some more. And luckily, yeah, it looks like it worked, because the dragon does appear a lot through the movie. I forget how many minutes of screen time he has, animation wise, but I know it's more than what they originally planned, which was just him showing up at the end and everyone's like, oh my god, he does exist. So it's kind of, it would have been weird seeing that version of the movie, but I'm kind of interested to see what it would look like if Elliot was not in here until the very end. Maybe someday we can get that cut of the movie where there's no dragon until the very end. And yeah, I believe this movie actually had a longer runtime when it first hit theaters, and I think just over the years, with it going on VHS and being shown on TV and stuff like that, I think they had to cut the movie down somewhat, and sadly, I think a lot of those scenes ended up becoming lost, and sadly, I don't think the version that we see here, the Blu-ray version, I don't think it is the complete theatrical cut. Too bad, man, because, yeah, it would be really cool to see all those scenes. Plus, the soundtrack, there are some songs on there that are actually longer than what they are in the movie, so I got a feeling a lot of that got cut when they were putting it out on TV and putting it out on VHS and stuff like that. So it's too bad, man, that we can't get those scenes back. Hopefully someday they'll find those scenes somewhere in the Disney vault or whatever, but it doesn't sound too good. I will give this movie I'll give it about a six and a half. I'll say 7. I'll go with 7. It's not the greatest movie. The main things that are great about it is the cast, the characters, the music for sure. Like, the music is so good, but I can't really say much for the story, and sadly the Pete character is very, very two-dimensional, and just so many just cringy lines like, this is fun. It's just like, oh my gosh. those moments don't age too well. So yeah, the Pete character doesn't exactly resonate well, especially with me now growing up. Maybe when I was a kid I was like, this is fun, just like how he said in the movie. But now it's kind of like, it's kind of cringy, the Pete character. Like, the Pete character could have been better written, but luckily he's surrounded by a lot of great character actors, and yeah, they pretty much shine, and luckily they managed to shine a lot over the Pete character. So I'll give it a 7. I'll be generous. I'll give it a 7 just because it's sentimental toward me, and I hope someday you can go out there and watch this and enjoy it like I do, and maybe pass it on to your kids. Because I know I probably will if I ever have kids, but so far I don't think that's gonna happen. We'll see. So yeah, that's all I have to say.